Hello there, family. I didn't see you there. And welcome back to another edition of Crenshaw Corner. I am Sanchez Crenshaw, and as always, I am joined by the best part of my day, the apple to my eye, the rib that completes me, the Smurfette to my village.
Don't do that.
The Ruby D to my Ossie Davis.
Yeah. Come on now, yes. Yes, now I know that.
I figured you know that one.
I know that
if
one.
If you don't know nothing else.
I know that.
You know that one.
You know that one. What's going on, family? What is going on? I am Angela Crenshaw, guys. What is going on?
That is my wife family.
What's up?
That is my wife family.
What's up?
What's going on, babe? What's up?
Family. Before he does little housekeeping, just let you know, if you hear some chatter, some laughter, we have guests. I don't even know if we're going to call them guests.
So you're going to just jump right into that, though?
I just want, because they can hear them, and I want them to know that we not out here being bipolar and schizophrenic. So
schizophrenic?
Yeah, like that.
Like clinic?
Because the prince is here, so we have to talk with a
wow.
Yeah.
You got to put that Queen's English in there. You got to put that Queen's English.
I got to talk proper. You got to get yourself together.
So family, before she continues down her tirade already, we always want to begin by just saying thank you, family. We always want to start with a show of gratitude.
Yes.
We thank you guys so much for our new listeners, for our new family members.
What's up, family?
Welcome. However you found us, whether it's iTunes, whether it's Podbean, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Google Play, whether it's Amazon Music, whether it's iHeartRadio, or on our own personal website at www.thecrenshawcorner.com. We thank you guys so much for just listening. For our returning family members,
come on in the room, to the podcast room, family.
You know how we feel about you, family. There is a special place in our heart for you.
Yes.
Not that we do not love our new listeners,
we love you guys.
Do. But it's something about the returning family members that does our heart well.
They keep putting the ticket in.
They keep putting the ticket.
They keep putting the ticket. They got the golden ticket anyway.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
So family, and always welcome to the cookout.
Yes.
Make sure you bring some aluminum foil so you can wet bay.
Take some with you. Take some nuggets.
That's right.
Take some Clubhouse gems. I'm going to keep saying that.
You're going to keep talking about that Clubhouse, aren't you?
I'm going to keep saying about
so family,
Clubhouse, though.
One thing, if you're new to us or if you've been with us for a while, quickly you'll come to figure out every once in a while.
Always.
Every now and again.
Always.
Not really too often.
Always.
The Crenshaws may go down a rabbit hole.
We do.
And we may go off on a little tirade and a tirade and tangent.
I feel so sorry for you guys. Especially on this podcast episode. Lord pray.
And the beginning topic may not be the end topic.
Exactly.
We may talk about something so irrelevant in the middle. So we like to have fun.
We do.
But the one thing we always do, we always try to leave you with something. We always try to give you a gem, a nugget. We always try to give you a different perspective on something.
Exactly.
So you can just take something with you. Yeah. So babe.
Yes.
With that being said.
Yes, but we're not interactive.
That's what I was about to say.
Oh, you didn't give me the interactive feel though. I felt like you was about to do something else.
I feel like you really trying to take over. I really do. I feel like you just want this to be a one-woman show. And you just want this to be show. That's how I feel.
It's cringe. Sure.
Wow.
I told you the prince is here.
Family. We are interactive podcasts. So what that means is that we can be found on the socials. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook, all in the Crenshaw Corner. And of course, you can email us anytime at thecrenshawcorner@gmail.com.
Thank you very
Once
much.
again, thecrenshawcorner@gmail.com.
I like the when you say the.
You like the?
The.
There you go.
It's the way your tongue. It's okay. Go ahead. Carry on.
I'm saying that we can turn this to an after dark moment.
We will not turn.
We can turn this into an after dark moment. We can have a conversation.
We cannot. We got the prince and princess here. We cannot today.
So family, as my beautiful wife has alluded to since the beginning of this conversation.
Because I'm excited.
I'm noticing that. I'm noticing you are very excited.
I have been waiting. There's a couple of couples we've been waiting to get, and they are definitely, oh my goodness.
So family, if you listen to our previous episode, my wife kind of spilled some beans.
Yes.
Let a couple of cats out the bag. So we
Not cats, because I'm allergic to cats and dogs. Can we say something else?
For real?
Well, go ahead. Never mind.
For
go
real?
ahead. It's okay. It's cool.
So I can't even just complete one thought.
Okay, just complete it. Okay,
crazy.
Okay, I'm here.
Crazy.
I'm gonna look at you, princess.
So
I'm gonna look at you.
We said my wife let some cats out of the bag, and we said that 2021 is going to be a little different for us from 2020.
Yeah.
There are some people in our lives that means a lot to us. And so we want to share them with the world. We want to share them with the family.
Yes.
And so at different periodical times throughout 2021, we're doing interviews and we're bringing a different voice to the family. If you listen to our marriage mentor episode, you understand. If you haven't, why not go back and listen?
Binge.
Matter of fact, binge all the episodes. There's like 87 of them.
Yes.
Just
come
listen.
on, 87. Okay,
yeah, this is the 88th. But
88.
88th
Come on
episode,
now.
which is crazy. But there are couples in our lives that we have been blessed throughout our marriage career that at different points.
Our marriage is a career. Again?
Our marriage is a career.
It's a career.
It's a career.
So, because the careers people retire,
I'm retiring, dog.
Well, okay, we'll talk.
I'm retiring, dog.
They're gonna help us with that, but go ahead, carry on. I'm not gonna talk about it right now.
So throughout our career, God has blessed us in different stages of our life, in different seasons, with different couples to help us through that particular season of our life. It's amazing how God does that. Is that God will give you exactly what you need when you need it.
Come on now.
He doesn't always give you what you want, but he gives you what you need when you need it. And at this particular season in our life, when this couple first came into our life, there was something that was missing from the Crenshaw collective. And this couple came in and through God and through them being open and through their vulnerability and through just them being honest in life, they brought something special.
And the fact that they straight no chasers.
Straight no chasers.
Because we trying to make it all cute. Let's just straight no chasers. That's
so
what
without
they
further
are.
ado, we are going to introduce you to a couple that means so much to us. So I'm going to start with the Prince. If you could just introduce yourself, sir.
I am the Prince of Zamunda. Oh, my name is Daniel Anagho, and I was born in Cameroon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll touch on the Prince in a moment.
Wait, first of all, she was looking at him like, baby, that's all you got?
Yeah,
that's all you got?
We'll get further into it. We'll get further into it.
She was like, okay.
What else do you want me to say?
She was like, okay. Hello, wonderful person.
Hi. First of all, I just want to say I felt like I could have done the housekeeping because I was like, Crenshaw Corner at gmail.com. Hey, what is going on? What is going on? But anyway, hi everybody. I'm Angela Anagho, the princess. Whatever you like.
Whatever you like. Whatever you want to do.
Yes.
So, family, this is the Anaghos.
Yes.
Hello.
How long have you guys been married?
22.
Why y'all both looking like that?
Like,
What?
Well, I'm sorry.
23 years.
1997.
23
I
years.
thought I was asking a simple question
Yeah,
first.
what
I didn't
was
know.
that?
I didn't know I started with the hard question.
That was, is it a pop quiz?
4 divided by 6 minus 4, 23.
Let me be honest. I'm starstruck because I'm used to hearing it, but I'm in the room, so it's weird. It's weird to just hear your voice in the room. Like
Right.
she's right there. He's right there. I'm sorry. Let me just. So I'll do that introduction again later. But
Okay.
Well,
I need you to smooth it out.
We thank you guys for being in the room.
But thank you for being here.
We're like, that's her right there.
Listen,
It's like Angela.
really?
Okay, sorry.
23 years of marriage.
Yeah.
Yes.
How long have you guys been together?
Ooh.
30 and a half. Because we were
How do you
dating
do-
for 3 years.
But
Oh
how's
my
your
gosh.
math?
What is my math?
Okay, hello?
12%.
I'm sorry.
Okay, hold to it. Hold
Carry
to
the
it.
two.
Oh my God.
I'm telling you,
Divide the 3.
I'm nervous. It's
Oh my
26
gosh.
years.
I'm
We've been
sorry.
together.
26 and a half. Where in the world did I
I
get
don't know.
30?
Could you do
You're
me
nervous.
a favor? Pull
And I
out your
homeschool.
iPhone calculator. And I need you to
23.
calculate that. Yeah.
Use my
Take your socks off. Use your toes, too.
I'm still
Okay.
waking up.
It's 30, but when I really take away 7, it's really.
And then when you carry the two,
Because
it
it's-
put me back to
Right.
26.
It's 30, but we've
Right.
been married 23, but we only dated for 3.
Yeah.
And I knew him for like
Right.
a half a month before that.
Right.
So that equaled 30.
I was manifesting him for 40 years.
Yeah, right.
Manifestation. So
right.
that counted.
Yeah, that's right. Come on.
26 plus the 4.
You have to add her prophesying.
Right.
Yes.
Her
I mean, it works for me. It's, I was never good in math in school anyway. English was my subject. So, hey, whatever numbers you tell me, I'm going to rock with.
I'm not sure where that
Listen.
came
Well,
from.
you know, technically you're right, honey, because we met 2 years before we dated. So we knew each
No.
other. Yeah, we did. Because you were trying to hook me up with people.
No, we dated for 3 years before we got married.
No.
From the time we started
But we
dating.
met.
You didn't listen to
so
him,
we've
did you?
known each
Oh
other.
my gosh.
You didn't listen to
Words
him at
are
all.
hard.
Technically, we've known. I'm just saying,
Words
you're
and
kind of right.
numbers are
Because we've known
hard.
each other for like 29
right,
years.
right.
Almost
See,
30.
I'm
So
going to
that's what
catch
you were
up. I
thinking.
was up till 3 o'clock in the morning
I'm
watching
kind of
TV.
confused here because it's normally Angela, we know the numbers. How are you letting Daniel win? I'm just asking.
Because I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning.
What was you doing at 3 o'clock?
I was Netflix.
What? Words are hard.
Words are hard.
Words are hard.
I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm here. I'm really just nervous because it's like,
It's out. We're
You
fine
know,
now.
it's
They're just
good.
regular
It's okay.
people.
We're
right
good.
now, I'm
Regular
honestly
people.
thinking I'm going to be on my walk, listening to the Crenshaw Corner, listening
To
to
myself.
myself with the Crenshaws on the Crenshaw Corner. So I
too
need to
much.
focus.
Your focus
It's
is
too
okay.
much.
And woosah.
This is,
Okay.
I love it. This is-
Listen.
family, I'm gonna pre-warn you. I kind of did this when we did the marriage mentor episode. Just rock with it.
Just rock. We just talk.
Just sit back and just enjoy the ride.
Yes.
Because this is gonna be a ride.
This is gonna be a ride, y'all.
It is.
I'm warning you now.
What I want to do is just give the family just a little bit of background so they kind of understand who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious. So how did you meet? So
Yeah.
Prince, how did you meet her?
Well, we were working at J. Crew, and
You look like you would work at J. Crew. But go ahead, my
we
bad.
were
Go
working.
ahead.
I was working at J. Crew,
Yep.
and I walked into the lunchroom, and I heard this voice say, "James, I will not be responsible for the demise of your relationship, James." And that was the first time
Oh, okay.
saw her, heard her, and that was 1996, 95,
No.
something like that.
93,
No.
94. 94. Words are hard.
Words
Yeah.
are hard.
Math
honey.
is hard.
So was
Yeah.
So
was James
we
trying to
met.
get you to demise his relationship?
No.
No, I just told his girlfriend he was cheating on him.
Oh wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
So she kept it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was mad at me.
Because you snitching out here.
Snitching, right. So I was
Right.
like, I will not be responsible for the demise of your relationship because you know.
And the first thing that came to mind, man, this girl uses big words. Big words. Big words. That's what
She got them dictionary words out here.
real words. That's, you know.
She out there in the Webster.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So we started, not talking, but she was trying to connect me or hook me up with some of the girls
A lot of the girls,
J.
yeah.
Crew.
Why though?
Most of the
You didn't
girls.
think he was good for you?
No, I was actually had a
dating
boyfriend at the time.
Okay, you was being a good
So I was
friend.
just, and we didn't really look at each other like that. And so
You didn't. He
You
did.
did secretly.
no, he did not. You did not like me. I did not like you. We were like not each
She
other's
did that.
types.
She did.
She did.
She liked
no,
you. I
whatever.
can tell.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, carry on.
It's like
And
it's like that Disney moment.
So yeah, it was just some girls at work that I knew. Our light skinned sisters and brothers really like him. So I tried to hook him up with our
light-skinned
Lori was
light
not.
skin.
Lori was light skinned, but she was black.
I'm so done. I'm so done.
Lori was.
Our who?
our light skin
Our light skin
of the
sisters.
Caucasian persuasion.
Okay,
They really
liked him. Okay.
So
Lori was not though.
she was
Lori-
light skinned. She was black light skinned.
Okay,
But
she was.
yeah, so I was just trying to fix him up because they really thought he was cute, and they're like, "Oh," and I was like, "He all right." And so I just was trying to hook them up, and yeah. And the girl one of the girls I tried to fix him up with, and you actually did like Lori. She sang at our wedding. She ended up singing at our wedding.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
I think that's
his
cute.
version.
I don't really know what to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
So we met. So after she broke up, because I had a girlfriend at the time as
Mm-hmm.
well. Well, after you were trying to hook me up, and then you broke up with your boyfriend, and then we went on. You asked me. You did. I remember this. She said, "When is it going to be my turn?"
Ooh.
And so,
Oh, wow.
Really,
she
Angela?
doesn't remember,
Oh,
but
you-
she was
says
literally
You
standing
straightforward
all
out here.
over
Straightforward.
J. Crew.
He said,
Okay,
So,
Princess, you
anyways.
straightforward, Miss Angela.
I don't remember that.
So we ended up going on.
Of course you don't. Of course you don't.
I can see you.
We were friendly. We were just friends.
Yeah, we were just
and
hanging out.
We were hanging out, and we went to our first date was the American Cafe
Yeah,
in
I
Georgetown. Yeah, and we had.
He got an elephant.
and
He
we
just remember everything,
we
don't
just
he?
Started talking and hanging out, and
Yeah.
eventually
just kind
we'd
of
ride the bus together. You just kind of know.
Oh wow.
Because
Yeah.
we were both like working at J. Crew, so we didn't have any money. And so he didn't have a car.
Right.
And so that's why I tell ladies, like, listen, when you meet a guy and they're like, oh, he ain't got no car, he ain't got no big job, he ain't got no money. Daniel didn't.
Don't
you know,
sleep.
and if I had
Don't
passed
sleep.
up, because like, oh, he ain't got no car, he doesn't have it going on financially at the time yet. But yeah, we would take the city bus to go on dates. And then the problem is that where my house was, the bus stopped running at 10 o'clock.
Right.
So so it was the Georgia Avenue in Silver Spring. So that was the closest I could get to my house, which is about 3 miles away. So we would take the bus to the closest intersection and then walk about 3 miles down the road to get to my house.
Yeah.
That's
Think about that
love.
for a moment.
That's that
So,
love.
you know what I'm saying? Now, Daniel walking up 3 miles to her house and then having to
Right.
walk 3 miles
Miles.
back. That's That's what I'm talking about.
Well, I don't. Did he?
We're not.
Okay.
I am a hunter.
We're not
Okay, I was gonna ask that question.
He had to walk 3 miles in the snow back.
That's what he did.
That's what he did. Okay.
He had to walk back.
But he had to walk back.
Take a cab.
Yeah. Okay. So
Is
what?
this thing on?
Yeah. So what happened? How did you guys know that we're it? This is what we want to do.
What was that moment?
What was the moment?
Well, for me, I think, so again, like we just kind of got friendly and, I had just ended a 3-year awful relationship. And so for me, I was kind of in the, like, okay, God, like, I'm just going to die old cat lady.
Oh,
like, I'm
the old
just, because I just
lady.
knew at that point that I couldn't be with somebody that wasn't everything that I needed them to be. Not perfect, but I had to trust you, just all those other things.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, there is no man that exists like that.
Right.
So I was like, I'm literally going to die an old cat lady. And I had made a vow to God. So I grew up Pentecostal. So I made a vow. So I was like,
it's real now.
How many cats were you going to have, though?
Right. So
How many were you going to have?
I was looking into adoption agencies for the little kitties. And so when we started dating, I was like not very nice at all because I had a lot of baggage. Didn't trust like all men are dogs probably. And so he surprisingly, like years later, I was like, dude, like, why did you stay with me? Because I was a big jerk. You
Right.
know? Not all the time.
Yeah, jerk
but,
tendencies.
Like, I had jerk tendencies.
It's big enough for you to admit
there.
that. It's big enough for you to admit
Yeah,
that.
jerk tendencies.
And
Y'all
so
gonna stop
we
that about me, though.
I think for me,
I'm
it
just
was
saying.
like after like a year or so, and I was like, oh, he's still here. Like,
And I still didn't get a cat.
Right. And he's like really patient with me.
Right.
And I don't have any cats. I had a dog, but
Right.
no cat. And so I think for me,
I
that
wanted
was
to
it. Like
take
it was
that
just
dog
kind of
out.
like he was different. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? He wasn't like he was patient. He could be trusted. He
Right.
showed himself to be trustworthy. So then I was like, okay, maybe I can let my guard down a little bit. So that was it for me. It was just kind of like.
Was it hard for you though? Because she's saying like she had a heart, she was a jerk, and
Not all the time.
Jerk
tendencies,
and
sometimes, most of the
Most of the time,
No,
sometimes.
Waking moments. When she
So
was
how-
asleep, she was good.
Right. When she woke up,
When she woke up, though.
I got you. So
And he
what-
wasn't there when I woke up.
Okay. Got it. So
Keep
how
telling the
did you
kids
do
that. Keep
that?
telling the kids that.
So the kids don't know that story.
Just well, here. I mean, you on the mic now. It's all over the airways now. That he went home for 3. He walked 3 miles to go home.
6 miles every
6
day.
miles every day.
No, I think at that time I was going through a lot. I had just moved, graduated from college, moved back to Maryland, and was looking for something. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was supposed to go back to Cameroon. My dad said no. So I was in a state in my life where I wasn't clear on what life would look like. And so
Okay.
as a result, I was dealing with a lot of personal kind of, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Ironically, at the time where she was a jerk, she was also very encouraging. She was very,
okay.
I have like 7 books on, don't sweat the small stuff. She would buy me these books, encourage me. So,
Wow.
so the joy that she had was something that I wanted outside of. So I saw more of the joy than I did any of the jerkiness that
wow,
in the
okay.
year. And so that's what really led me to her, because it's like, wow, she's always happy. When I found out her story, I was like, wow, that doesn't even make sense
Right.
that she's had such a tragic childhood, that she's such a positive and encouraging person.
Right.
And that's what I needed in my life at the time. So
That's cool.
So that's what
That was
really
the answer to his prayers.
Come on now.
Because she always going to take that little step
Yeah, she gonna-
extra.
yeah.
She going to go a little
I was
further
just
with it.
summarizing it for you.
I think he did
I think he did really well himself,
He
though.
did it good. He did
I think he did really well.
Yeah,
He
So
did
thanks,
good. So now let's fast forward, because we want to have different. Because you guys are amazing, but there's so much to you guys. There's so many layers that I want to pull back, and we got a small amount of time. So we fast forward. So you marry. How do you ask to marry her? And here's the thing that's funny, because we've known you guys for so long, and we know her. So how do you? Because it's always the Angelas is what everybody
Right.
like. The Angelas, we kind of like almost the same person. So how do you ask to marry Angela?
How do I ask? What do you mean? How
Did you ask her to marry you? How did that all come out?
That,
Like,
and then I'm going to add a little more to it.
Yeah.
So when did you know it was time to ask? And
Yeah.
then once you did, how did you go about doing it?
Yeah, that's the question. Thank you. I love you.
Oh, you're welcome, babe.
Come on, man. Come on, babe.
It wasn't. It wasn't like a light bulb that clicked. It wasn't like, oh, now I know. It was kind of, I knew in my life that I wanted a family, and I wanted to have children, and that was, we were 20 when we started dating. I was 25. So by 28, I always said to myself, by the time I'm 30, if I'm not dating, if I'm not married, I'm not gonna get married.
Right.
I just felt like I didn't want to get set in my ways. You know those guys that have been single for, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
you move the coffee to the right. Hey, you need to leave.
Yeah.
I wanted to build a family with somebody, and I thought that for me the timing was right. I just felt like this is a person that I want to marry. This is a person that I love. This is a person that I can see will be loyal. This is a person that, she wanted 8 kids when we met.
I'm sorry. Hold on.
Yeah, she
What?
wanted 8 children when we married.
8
when we
children.
Yeah, when we were
Okay.
talking about marriage.
Wow.
Or talking about having a family, and so it just I think this is what I need to do. And she was kind of. It wasn't just me; it was her too. Like we were having conversations. What would marriage look like for us after dating? And we believed in so many things. We were both Christians. We loved God. We were seeking God, and so it just made it natural for us to kind of like get to that point. But it wasn't like, oh, this is the day. It was more like together we were kind of working through that.
When did you know, Angela?
Yeah.
So I, again, like when he kind of like stuck with me as, I guess it was kind of like a healing process,
Right.
From my previous. So I probably like a good year and a half into it. Like I knew like, okay, I'm going to marry this guy. And for me, like even I used to listen to, do you guys remember Dr. Laura Schlesinger?
I love Dr.
Oh my
Laura.
God. One of Sanchez's
I listen to
favorite
Dr. Laura
people.
every day.
He's still be trying to listen to her old
I
stuff.
love Dr. Laura.
Yes, she was, and what I learned from her was like when I hear couples like call in, they would always, she would say like, you didn't know that before you got married? You didn't? And so she always talked about like, you got to have the conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
So before we got married, we talked about everything, like every scenario. Like, how do you feel about socks on the floor? How do you feel
So
about
good.
like having, like all those little things that people don't find out about each other.
Right.
So we talked about financial stuff.
Right.
We talked about the kids. We talked about like what religion, like going to church. So like all those big decisions that you're in love, and it's like, oh, we'll overcome everything, and then you get married, and you're like, oh, we didn't talk about this,
Right.
Those
So
ugly
we had a lot of
conversations.
we had a lot of conversations about. I tried to cover it all because I was like, okay, what would Dr. Laura want me to ask him? What would Dr. Laura say?
But also it's kind of like we talk about the things that we like and we dislike, but focus on the things that are deal breakers as well.
Yeah, that's
because
good.
there's a lot of times
So
you're kind of like,
good.
well, is that a deal breaker for you? Because people will do, I'm still going to get married. It's a deal breaker, but I'm still going to get married because I want to get married. No,
Right.
it's not going to change. So we talked about that as well.
Wow.
Right.
Hold on, before we continue though, if you've ever wondered where my fascination with little women who are aggressive comes from, because you always wonder why I love
Judge
Judy.
Dr. Laura.
It started with Dr. Laura.
Yes.
It really did.
She was
That's
a
where
little fireball.
Yes, that's where my fascination with little women, little aggressive. I married a little aggressive
Yes.
woman.
That's what we
That's
trying to
where
do
it
right
came
now.
from.
You really did.
Thanks, Doc. Let me shout out Dr. Laura.
I'm just saying. So,
Is she still alive?
as far as I know, she is. I think she still does a show.
Really?
Because he likes to go back to old stuff.
I do.
yeah.
He goes back to everything.
She's
that-
amazing.
She really is.
literally,
I've
go
never
back and
listened to
listen
her. You listen to her, Daniel?
Oh, yeah.
Really? So I'm only one at the table. Don't.
Yeah.
Never.
That was
when I say
my-
never, never.
But that was my period in my life, and I still do from time to time, where I would listen to Dr. Laura. I would listen to Rush Limbaugh. I was
I used to
NPR.
listen to him too.
Yeah, that's my NPR station. I used to listen to all of them.
Right.
Yeah, I love different perspectives. I don't have to agree with the perspective, but I love different perspectives.
Right.
So back to you, not about me. So I got a question. So we're going to fast forward just a little bit.
Right.
Because we want to get into the kind of the main meat of what we want to talk about with you guys. So we went through the dating process. You had your jerk tendencies. You overlooked them. She gave you the joy. Beautiful. We got married. We had kids. So now we're starting a family. Now we're raising a family. And so, and at some point you decide that you want to build your dream. And you want to step out, and you don't want to be under anyone's umbrella anymore, and you want to step out and do that. So my question to you is, from a father, husband, male perspective, How do you do that? How do you get to that point where you know I'm a risk it all for this dream, for what I know I'm being pushed to do? How do you do that? How do you get there?
Wow, it's not. That's a loaded question. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, because I had to ask Angela, like, stability, and you already you came in with trust. You sort of trusted him, and then one day he wake up and be like, I'm not going back to work, right?
I'm not going back to a traditional job.
We're gonna make this money, but not traditionally. Like, how do you, as a wife, handle that? So I want to hear you, but I definitely want to hear your concept when you heard him say it to you.
Well, again, when it happened, I was at Ernst & Young. I was Capgemini, and I got laid off. Mm-hmm. And I had a nice severance package. And I think I was pushed, but I had the dream already in me. Mm-hmm. Right. So it wasn't like you're pushed and then what do I do? It's like, no. When I was at Capgemini, Ernst & Young, the receptionist was like my sounding board.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of this company name? For almost a year. What do you think of that? And it got to a point where the partner that I reported to said to me, what are you doing here? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm working for the top 5 consulting companies in the world.
Right.
And you're asking me, what am I doing here? You have so much potential. But I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
But I realized that I have more in me than that they're asking for, or I'm even giving at the firm.
That's good.
And so I started talking to the receptionist, what do you think of this name? And what do you think of that? And da-da-da-da. And when the layoff happened, I was ready, and that was kind of like I was ready before then, but I didn't take that leap.
Okay.
Because I had the nest and I had a family. So it's not like, so I can't take credit for saying I stepped out.
Right.
But I was pushed out.
Time to fly, baby bird. Time to fly.
Go.
Well, I was pushed out, and then I had a nest that I could tap into, which was my severance.
Right.
And then I started really digging into, okay, honey, this is what I'm going to do. And she was very supportive. Mm-hmm. Going back to the initial meeting and what attracted me to her was like, okay, you can do this. Let's do this. Let's make it work. And that was really her posture. And that was the most critical thing. If I tell anybody, if you want to start a business and you are married and you have children, if your spouse says no, don't do it, because that is the best support you will ever get.
Right.
Because as soon as she says, honey, I think it's time for you to get a job, it's time for me to get a job.
Right.
But as long as she says, we can make through it, we can do it.
Right.
As a result of that is what has led to the success that I've had over the 15 years. Her support.
Wow.
Because outside of that, it's just impossible. And so stepping out, it was definitely a faith walk.
Wow.
I mean, everything happened so quickly for me where my first deal was like $50,000.
Oh, wow.
I had a business partner that flew me to Guinea for 2 weeks, all expenses paid.
Right.
And the best thing that ever happened to me is that it didn't go through.
Wow.
Because at that point I was like, if it went through, I'm smart enough, I'm this dude, I can do that. And I was like, the Lord is like, I can't let this go through. I said, I need you to rely on me. Because you're going to think you're smart enough, because where I'm going to take you, it's only me that's going to take you there.
Right.
And you need to understand that early. And so when that happened, I was disappointed, but it was later on that I realized, wait a second, I'm a businessman, right, who happens to be Christian.
Right.
But then I was like, no, God is, you're a Christian who just happens to be a businessman.
Right.
There are things I want to do through you, through this business.
Right.
So don't think it's just all about you. So.
Were you that solid with it? Like he said, when he came and was like, okay, I got this nest and this is what I want to do, was there no apprehension, or you were like, let's do it, baby, yes? You had your little cheerleader outfit and your little pom-poms and your pom-poms, your pom-poms and your pom-poms. Hey!
Y'all doing y'all best to try to turn this to an After Dark episode.
I mean, we can change it. I'm all for After Dark. But no, I didn't. I really, because he was so miserable in corporate America.
Yeah,
he had first worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Right.
Then went to Ernst & Young. And he was just miserable.
Right.
I could just tell. I was like, oh my gosh. So I could see what corporate America was doing to him. So I was fine with it. Like, I just was like, yeah, no bueno, And so, I never had any doubts, or I was like, okay, honey, go for it. And
how many kids did you guys have at the time? How many children?
Two.
We had two. We had Alex and Sydney,
Yeah, that's a leap of faith right there.
Yeah.
No, seriously,
they were little, right. And it was, and it's been like a roller coaster journey. Like there were days where we were like, let's see, we got some beans, we got some rice, we got a can of Spam, let's make a beans and rice stir fry.
You're gonna make this happen real quick.
Yeah, we were like kind of like, okay, Jesus, like the lights gotta be paid, or or times when the lights did get cut off, and we were like, oh, kids, we're gonna have a camp out, we have an indoor camping day,
It's gonna be good.
so we can get the lights back on tomorrow or the next day, and we were like flashlights, and the kids never knew. They had no idea,
and they still don't.
And they still had
wow.
no idea. And so we were like, okay, and it was such a journey of faith. Like, I mean, I would really be like, God, really? We doing this again? Like to the point where I was like, we haven't learned the lesson. Like, what is it? Like, because it was feast or famine. It was just a season of just abundance.
Right.
But then you're trying to play catch up from the season of lack.
Right.
And then you're like, woo. And then it's like, woo, okay, let's take another dip. And, so it was really like Lord, what are you doing? Like, it was like, so many emotions and just so much stuff to work through with God. And it was like truly a faith journey. And so, it was, and it got to the point where like God would, we would say, okay, well, we have a backup plan. Well, just in case the Lord don't come through, we got this plan A, B,
okay,
C,
God, in
whatever.
case you don't come through, I'm going to take this back.
I'm going to do
I'm
this,
gonna do
and then I have to
myself.
call so-and-so. Can I get a 20? Whatever. And then it just got to a point where the Lord was like, oh, okay, I see you. And then he said, okay, now I'm going to take you to the dead end, and you're going to look around, and there's no plan B or C, and then you're truly going to have to, like, the situation's so, serious that you're going to have to just really wait for me to work. And God always did. And so like those years, I would never trade. And so through that time, so when the lights was like, or the water was like, okay, let's go fill up some buckets. Seriously, right?
Yeah, we would.
Be like, what can we do? Let's have another camping trip. Because we camped a lot as kids.
Indoors.
Right, indoors. We were glamping. That's
It was
what
glamping before glamping was a thing.
Before it was a thing, y'all did that. Y'all created that.
glamping.
Yes.
Exactly.
Y'all was so chic.
And so we went, but even through that, I never, he, of course, as the man of the house, and I'm sure, that was his own journey to go through, as a man, you're like, I'm the provider and I'm supposed to say this isn't happening. But for me, when he wanted to quit, he would be like, okay, I'm going to go get a job. I'm going to do whatever. And I would just say, well, is the Lord telling you to do that? I would just always ask him that.
Come on
like,
now.
Are you, I'm like, I'm okay. Like hey, God is building character, and
perseverance.
Yes, and perseverance.
Digging holes build character.
Right. And I'm just gonna be strong woman of God. Maybe I didn't think it at the time, but I was like, okay, this sucks, but we're
Okay,
work
God,
through it.
all right already.
And again, so it was just kind of like so it was like great, wonderful, and then it's like that whole roller coaster is something else. What a ride. But just throughout it, I would just say, is God telling you to go? Is God telling you to do that?
Right.
It's like, and if God is not telling you to quit, then we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like,
we're going to be okay.
We're not the only ones that, especially starting a business.
Right.
Like so that's why I tell people starting a business, I'm like, listen, you see a lot of time people's success stories.
Right.
You see once they arrive,
backstory.
but you don't see the struggle to get there. So people can look at us now and be like, oh gosh, wonderful. But man, like it was a journey.
Yeah.
And so you just can't expect I'm going to start a business and my bills are just going to be paid. And like you really, it's a faith walk.
Yeah. And it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you something. It's going to cost you sleep, money, and time. It's going to cost you friendship, family. I mean, it costs you something when you
Lights,
jump.
water,
Look,
credit,
gas.
I'm curious about
car
something
payments.
though. From a Angela perspective.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. This is not a Angela wife. This is not an Angela mother. This is a Angela person question. So, because of course we all come into a relationship with our own things, our own goals, our own aspirations. So now you're a mother. Now your husband is coming to you telling me that he wants to venture off on his own, which at that time changes your dynamic.
Right.
So now you may have to put something that you wanted to do on hold to ensure that the family at home is taken care of. How did you deal with that? Because I'm pretty sure there had to be some sacrifices on your side for Daniel to be able to go out and do what he was doing.
Yeah.
Right.
So for you, what was that journey like?
Well, for me, definitely, probably the biggest sacrifice is just sort of the material comfort, the vacations, the cars. You know, we had like one car for a really, really long time. So just that was more so the biggest sacrifice is just living a certain lifestyle. I mean, we lived in a beautiful house and beautiful neighborhood and all that, but I was in Montgomery County, Maryland, and so and all my friends were like
Montgomery County wives,
right? So I'm like, hanging out the Real Housewives of
Montgomery,
right? Meanwhile, I was like, hey, my friends would be like, hey guys, let's go to Neiman Marcus and have lunch.
Not today.
Not today. So that was like a struggle, because it was like, I love my friends, but I was like, see, I am not set up like y'all are right now.
When my checking and savings is set up.
Right. And so, so that was like a thing, and then you had, this is one of the reasons why we left Maryland, just this pressure to kind of like keep up with the Joneses. So like, somebody's, the kids were like 2. And somebody's like, oh, so my kids in violin, they know their ABCs. They just wrote their first thesis statement. They have their black belt in karate. And I'm looking like, that's what I'm supposed to be doing? So like, oh, shoot. Okay, kids. Okay, A, B. Then you're trying to, okay, pick up the violin. And you're trying, so it's just like, and so I had got to a point where I was like, okay, I can't continue like this. So I had to tell my friends, like, I can't do, I'm not set up that way.
Right.
That's not what I want.
Right.
And so that was the biggest thing, is sort of like the sacrifice of, living a certain way or being able to do certain things. But like being a mom, like what I was doing, like I just didn't want to go back to work. Like that was my whole thing. I was just like, I just don't want to go back to work.
Come on and tell the truth.
Like the thought of like, oh my, like really like cringeworthy. I was like, me having to like go somewhere every day, right? And because when we were dating, I told him I want to be like, you can't marry me. I want to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, I'm going to retire.
That's so good.
Yeah,
we agreed.
I'm going to
so
retire.
you came into it knowing that, hey, this is, if you're doing this with me, I'm home.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm raising your kids. I'm taking care of your house.
Did you say
but
Dr.
I'm home.
Laura taught you that?
Dr. Laura taught me that. She was like, let him know or let him go. So I knew. So he knew all along. So even when we bought our house before we had kids, we did everything on one income, on just his income.
Right.
Okay.
We knew that like we could have bought a more expensive house, but we knew like once I had kids, I was gonna. So we started living a few years before we had kids.
Right.
Like just on his salary, because we knew that when we did,
that's what
I was
doing?
gonna.
I thought,
You thought I was just keeping my money.
I was like,
You thought Angela was embezzling
Wait,
like
I was like-
Sanchez think I'm embezzling
Oh,
the
no.
money?
Like,
So it's an
wait a
Angela thing
second.
because I know Angela. I know my Angela is embezzling from Crenshaw Corporation.
Embezzling.
I'm getting the bookkeeper.
Sanchez,
Listen,
I may be, that may be right.
Listen, the Angels know how to save and
Crazy
put
money.
away real
Right.
well.
Right.
I mean,
We just knew. So we were like, okay. So then when I stopped working,
you knew. So you gonna stop saying we like we French in here. I know Daniel speaks French, but we gonna stop like we French in here.
We knew.
You knew.
Yeah.
knew.
So
We knew.
it was like that was the thing. Like I was gonna stay home. So I have been retired for 20 years.
Here's what I love about that though. Because
Y'all are
in the joking, in the laughing, I don't want the family to miss
it.
what you just said.
Right.
You had a hard conversation in the beginning because a lot of couples don't do that.
That's
Because a lot of husbands, a lot of wives, they lie to themselves and in turn lie to the person they're about to marry, saying, "Well, this is the way I want to live." Knowing it's not the way they want to live, because there's so many wives that go into it saying, I don't want to work. I'm okay with being a stay-at-home mom because that's a job in itself.
Yes, it is.
I'm okay with taking care of the house. I'm okay with making sure when you come home, everything is good.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing, but a lot of people are scared to have that conversation.
Right.
And so now they get into the marriage and now they're having to go to work. And now they're being unhappy. They're being resentful. Now they're looking at the husband or looking at the wife,
Right.
mad at them when they never had a conversation to begin with.
Right.
And now the husband or the wife is operating blind because they don't know what's going on.
Right.
And so in the midst of the laughter, I don't want family to miss that. Having that, like you said, that Dr. Laura conversation in the beginning saying, you know what? I know me. I don't want to work.
Yep.
I'm okay with that. Are you going to be okay with that?
Right.
And how do we operate in that space?
Right.
I love it.
Because I didn't want it, regardless of what financial, like, don't tell me to go out and get a job. I mean, the Lord's going to have to tell me, okay, Angela, you got to go back to work. But, we can glamp all we want.
In my prayer time, the Lord going to tell me.
The Lord going to have to say it's time. And, because I loved, still do love being a stay-at-home mom. Like, that was just... since I was in college, like I'm like, when I have a family, when I have kids, I just want to be at home with my kids.
And we're reminded of that,
Wow.
especially because when we decided to homeschool, because you were going to stay home and be the homemaker, but we hadn't decided on homeschooling yet. And it was Pastor Bob when he preached that one day.
Pastor Bob, y'all.
Yeah,
Y'all
Pastor Bob.
ain't ready
You
for
thought
Pastor
Bob was
Bob.
not going to come on Pastor Bob on the Crenshaw Corner.
That's right,
Shout out
Pastor Bob. Shout out to Pastor Bob.
Right.
Where he said, if you send your child to just a public school, you're gonna lose them. You're gonna lose that identity. I think it's something like that.
Right.
We
And
talked
he was
about
just
that.
saying, like, know your child.
Know
'Cause
your
obviously
child.
not everybody's
Right.
going to homeschool.
Right.
And the thing about that is know your child. If we sent Alexandra to public school, she would not be the girl that you guys see today.
Wow.
Because she is easily influenced. She was very much like go
Right.
with the crowd. And it was clear to God, clear to us that God was calling us to homeschool.
Because we tried to throw him in school a couple of times.
Did you?
And yeah.
The word throw is so
And it was
aggressive.
more me. Yeah, we
So
tried to throw him in
aggressive. So aggressive.
We're like, well, maybe let's try. And it just would never work out. And then like when it didn't work out, Jesus would just be still like, so
told
we
you.
going to talk now?
Right.
Oh, okay. So now
Communicate to me now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
You know
And
what?
I-
I'm sorry, Daniel. What's amazing, because again, this is the thing. Me and Sis always tell people, communicate. So even then, for you to communicate, not only do I not, because this is where a lot of brokenness come in marriages, is not having the real conversations. Because right now I'm hoping, I know that it will bless women who are about to get married and going, wait a minute, I need to talk to him before I got to do a Angela, bruh. I want to raise my family. And I think when you don't do that, you go into marriage, and then when you have the child, you become very bitter. You know what I'm saying? Instead of having that conversation, and then again going back and going, okay, guess what? I also want to homeschool. What does that look like for our family? And having that real conversation, because when you don't, especially as women, because we're nurturers and we want to love, and we kind of put ourselves on the back burner until we get burnt out. You know what I'm saying? And so to avoid that is to have those gut rock under the board conversations like you guys had, to say, I love you. Are you willing to be the breadwinner and allow me to be home? Because I'm telling you, like you said, from the rooty to the tootie, I'm never going to work.
right.
I'm just not going. Not, I'm going to work, but not in the sense of corporate America,
Yeah.
punch a clock. And so that made all the difference,
Right.
you know?
To piggyback off that as well, understanding that, and one thing you said about your kids with Pastor Bob, you said know your kids,
Right.
And you have to do what's best for your kid. Know yourself when you come to that, because society will have you believe that if you live a certain way when it comes to that, that you're devalued, or if you're, because people love saying, "Oh, you're just a."
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Their favorite
oh,
line.
you're just a
Oh,
stay-at-home mom,
Right,
or you're
exactly.
just a stay-at-home wife.
Yeah.
And there's no, or you're just a stay-at-home dad. They love
Right.
putting that just,
yeah.
and devaluing what you're doing. Like raising kids is not one of the most important jobs that we're tasked
Beautiful
with.
things, right?
You know, you have to know yourself and understand that you can't listen to what society tells you or their idea of what it should look like for you.
Right.
Because if we've learned nothing from society is twisted.
Oh yeah.
All day.
Society is
Right.
twisted. It's fake. There's no
And it's fickle.
It's fickle. It's
It'll
very
switch up on
fickle.
you in a minute.
Because even from a so-called beauty standard, when you go from the 30s to the 40s, that thick round woman was what it was. They used to make clothes to make their hips look bigger,
Right.
To make their bodies look bigger. So that was just, if you were thin and frail, you were unhealthy, you were
Right.
unattractive.
Right.
That switch to now the curvy woman is now the unbeautiful, and now the stick figure is now the the beauty standard.
And then we flip it again.
And then we flip it again.
Right.
And now curvaceous and big lips is back again.
Right.
You know, now we're doing surgery and all kind of stuff to get back to that. And so when you listen to that voice, it'll throw you off, because
Yeah.
there are a lot of people, men and women like you, Angela, who know I'm not built for corporate America.
Right.
That is not what I want to do. My happy place is not there. My joy is not there.
Right.
But they'll listen to that outside voice will say, "Oh, but you a woman. You supposed to do this. You supposed to do that."
Right.
And now they're stuck.
Right.
And I think you have to be secure and for me, because I know everybody's not a Christian, but for me, knowing that God led me, like God put it on my heart to be
Right.
stay at home and homeschool and all that other stuff. But I would say you have to staying at home and homeschooling, you have to know why you're doing it. You have to feel like, and of course you'll have times you doubt, because trust me, there are times I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm ruining my kids. They're going to go to college. They're not going to know anything. Because people are like, they would plant seeds of doubt. Like, oh, well, are you a teacher? Like, do you have a certificate? Like you have to. And I'm like, well, if I know it, and I can teach it to them. And I always wanted to teach them how to learn, how to teach themselves something. Right. But anyway, you get people who will be like, if I say, oh, what do you do? Because people define you by what you do.
Of course.
What do you do? Oh, I stay at home with my kids. And so, I could never do that. Oh, you homeschool. Oh, I could never. And now, mind you, I didn't ask you to stay at home.
No, actually,
you just asked me what I did. Right. You just asked me what school my kids go to.
Now you feeling guilty.
Homeschool.
Now you feeling guilty.
And literally 9 times out of 10, people's first response is, "Oh, I could never do that."
Right.
Oh, I can't teach my. And I'm like, well, okay, I didn't ask you to. And so it's like when you tell somebody you're doing something, it's like they automatically make it about themselves.
Yes. Right.
They automatically project like, oh, like you're saying I should be staying at home and not working. You're saying I should homeschool. Right. And I'm like, no, you just asked me, and I
just told you what I was doing.
Tell you what I was doing.
Immediately, people like feel like they have to defend why they're not doing what you're doing, and so I had my family. People are like, especially when we were going through financial distress, people were like, well, you need to go back to work. Like to them, it looked insane.
Right.
Like you're on the struggle bus. Right. But you won't go back to work. Right. The kids are not going to be socialized. Whatever. And so I would just tell people, if you have an issue with it, take it up with Jesus.
Come on now.
Because this is what he's called me to do.
Right.
And so then they were like, oh.
No, there's nothing to that. There's nothing to that. There's nothing
but
to
I was
say to that.
so secure, and I knew, like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Regardless of the financial distress, regardless of, the doubts people put in your head about what's going to happen to your kids if you homeschool. You have tinfoil hats, and then we're going to be in our little bunkers, with our rifles. Like, the government is trying to,
Right.
I'm like, we're really not
waiting for that alien ship to come.
We got little Duggar dresses on, and
that is
stuff,
not what we're doing.
Right. And so, but for me, it was like, okay, God has called me to this. So I think you have to know why you're doing something. Right. And just this is my purpose. This is what I'm doing. This works for me. I'm not asking you to do it. Right.
Yeah. And then at the same time, you have to be on the same page. Like, as a husband, it was, I can't say that it was easy all the time, that I didn't have doubts, but my responsibility was to cover my wife. Right. Because, I'm in corporate America, and people are saying, well, you're doing this and your wife's not working and all that stuff. Yeah. In my family also, what are you doing? And I had to cover what she's doing is more important than anything else. What her job is better than anybody's job in terms of raising our kids. Right. And I had to go through those doubts as well. I remember once it was playtime, and when I was working from home, this is when I had started the company, and I took Alexandra and Sydney out for just a bike ride. Right. And so I was walking, and they were biking just in the cul-de-sac, and a thought came to mind, which was like, what am I doing to my kids? They're not surrounded by anybody. They're just playing with themselves, and there's no interaction socially. And so those thoughts came to mind, which was like, what are you doing to your kids? They're going to be socially deprived. And I was overcome by that. And the Lord stopped me in my tracks and said, I've called you guys to do this. Wow. Just trust me in this whole process. Yeah. So there are times where you're doubting, and we have to get together and really be on the same page and say, honey, this is what I'm feeling. This is what's going on. Because if I didn't do that, I would literally be in a spot where I was really, really doubting everything that we're doing, and just kind of force her to, maybe we should consider or reconsider this model. And so,
Now, with that being said, because I'm curious, from your standpoint, so rewind just a little bit before the kids came, because like Angela said, you guys had that conversation even before you guys have kids. So when she first came to you and said, this is how I feel, I don't want to be in corporate America, I want to be at home, I want to be a stay-at-home wife, eventually a stay-at-home mother, your initial thought, your initial feeling, how did you initially feel when she first had that conversation with you?
Well, I was comfortable with it because my mom was a stay-home mom. Okay. And the challenge that my mom and dad had at one point was my mom wanted to work. Right. And my dad was like, no, you're not going to work. You don't need to work. Plus, you can't work because you're the wife of, and you can't work. You can't be seen as working. Culturally, it wasn't accepted that the colonel's wife is out working in the United States. No, your job is stay home, put on nice events, etc. Right. But I was used to growing up with my mom at home, and so it was a natural. Yeah, this. It was more natural in terms of the culture and what I'm used to. But the financing piece was a little bit different. Okay. Right? Because it was like, okay, does that mean there's one
Right.
income, and getting used to that and,
Right.
and really agreeing to that. And I think working together as a couple was critical for us to make sure that financially, this is the plan, one income, all of that. I'm gonna
We had to
hoard.
do
I'm
steakums
gonna
instead of
hoard
steak.
all of my money. Right.
You're like,
So she
steak
can
in the
hoard all her
grocery
money.
store,
First of all, no ma'am steaks, no ma'am steakums is so
T-bone.
good. Philly cheesesteak, ma'am.
Man, get your little onions on there.
Yes,
right.
honey,
That's
right.
some provolone cheese. So here's the thing. Here's the thing about that. So now, when I hear you guys, we fast forward because now we've homeschooled our beautiful children. I mean, babies is going to college. Babies doing their thing, right?
Babies are doing extremely well.
First of all, they're not social missing anything. These
No.
are some
Right.
extraordinary
Very.
children.
Not socially awkward at all.
At all. I
They
mean,
mom a little socially awkward, but the babies are good.
Listen to me. Like these children, that is not their problem.
No.
It is not
These
at
are
all.
some. You sit
Right.
down with one of her kids or their kids, and you'll find out. You'll be like, oh.
At any age.
At
Start
any
with the
age.
youngest
Yes,
to the oldest.
Because I not so long ago had a conversation with Samantha. I was like, okay, Samantha, those are great
Amazing.
questions.
Yes.
Give me a moment. I'll be right back. I'll be right.
And you know,
back.
people still question, like even after they meet our kids
Uh-huh.
and see, like our kids can talk to anybody.
Yes.
Yes.
Like at 2,
About
3 years old,
anything.
Sydney will be sitting and having adult, and people are like, "Well, and so it's so funny when people are like home aren't socialization." But then I'll meet kids who aren't homeschooled, and nothing against them,
Right.
But I'm like, wait, we were at somebody's house for dinner. Kids did not speak to us at all. The weirdest, most awkward silence. They saw us. They walked in the room. They got their dinner. They like literally did not. And
That
as
was
a parent,
weird,
You would
right.
think like, hello, we have like nothing. Really weird. They just like, oh my gosh, there's people here. Da, da, da. So we sat at the dinner table with Alexandra and Sydney. We're having a conversation about politics. This and the girls were like mid-teens, politics, whatever. So then homeschooling comes up, and she's like, "Oh, you homeschooled it," and says to me, "Aren't you worried about like socialization?"
We're
And I'm
having
thinking, like,
conversations
lady,
with your-
did you just? I was like, wait, you're sitting at the table having a conversation with my teenagers about life and current
Politics,
events and
right.
politics. Your kids didn't even look at. They just got to blink in my direction. Then and I'm like, and you're asking, and I just was baffled by it. Like people don't even bother to like really see them, and I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
your kids didn't even say hi,
Right.
Like you're having a great conversation with my kid, and you're asking me about social. Like that's probably the number one question, socialization. And I'm thinking like, what? So it was just weird, it was just really, really weird. I was like, so you guys know, like our kids
yeah.
are like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know.
I love your kids. So we're gonna fast forward.
Okay.
I know because we're good on time, but we gotta keep it. Because then there was a not even a transition, but there was the children are older, and so. Daniel, now your wife comes because I think I love your support for your wife. She comes and she's like, baby, let me just backtrack. I don't know if because you was making Spam and glamping that you became this incredible chef that you are, because that is crazy. But she comes and she goes, this is my desire.
Yeah.
I want to be a chef. I want to do this and I want this business. And you look at her and you say,
I say, well, I say, go for it. She supported me, but this journey of hers started 6-7 years ago,
wow.
where she was testing in the kitchen and doing it, but she never launched anything because it wasn't the time. And she was like, I can't do what I want to do and take care of the children the way I was called to do. And so it was through the years that she like was testing out meals and just
Right.
all this stuff. So when she came to me, I was like, oh yeah, because this has been 7 years that she's been
Right.
marinating on this idea.
Right.
And finally, when we were ready, I think it was a perfect scenario where she could do it from home, still care for the kids.
Right.
I wouldn't miss a beat.
Right.
We would all support her in what she was doing. So it was naturally for me to say, yeah, let's go for it.
You knew, but you already knew that this was coming.
Yeah, I knew it was coming.
Yeah, you knew that she was going to be this thing, this person that she is right
Right.
now. You already knew that.
Yeah.
So then, Angela, for you, so because that's a big step, just like
Yeah.
for Daniel, but I mean, at least for him, and I'm not trying to take away, but it was earlier on in the marriage. Everything really wasn't solidified just yet. It wasn't running to perfection as of yet. So he could kind of play with it a little bit and get it where he wanted it to be. But for you, everything is set. Daniel's established, homeschool's established, kids are established. There's a certain foundation, a certain lifestyle you guys are accustomed to. When did you get to the point to say, you know what, this is beautiful, but it's not quite enough for me, so I need to venture out?
It's my turn.
It's my turn. How did you get to that point?
Right. I think definitely like it's been a build up, and like for me it was like my training ground was like, those, what can we make with this stuff that we have? And as I look back, or when the kids would have, because I have a events and catering business, for those of you who don't know.
Say the name.
Say the name. Shout it out, please. Thank you.
It's Sweet Pea Smuggles and Cakes. And it's events and catering, and Sweet Pea Smuggles and Cakes are my kids' their nicknames.
Mm-hmm.
So the two oldest are my Sweet Peas, and then Matthew's Smuggles and Samantha's Cakes.
Oh.
So people always ask me like, what is that? But anyway, I was like, I'm going for it. I know it's weird and it's different, but that's what it is.
Shout out to Auntie Tanya.
But yeah.
Shout out to Tanya.
So anyway, so for me, it was like just when they would have a birthday party, I would like, okay, I literally within like 2 days, I could throw together this amazing event, and they would be like, wait, how did you do this?
Right.
So it was more like just something that was just a passion. Food I've been obsessed with since I think the day I was born.
Okay.
So when I was growing up, like I collected fake food. I still do.
I'll show
I
you
used
guys
to
a
draw.
I've seen it when I helped you do the garage.
You did. Yeah, and that company went out of business where I used to buy from. But anyway, but I would draw. I mean, I would draw pictures of food. I would want to eat food. I would want to like food was just everything. I remember when I was pregnant with Alex, that's when we got the Food Network started. It was a new thing, and I was like, we need to have cable because there's a network that has food on it, and so it was like, so for me, it's just I've loved like international food. Like I've just. To this day, I can watch it. I watch people eat food. I watch people make food, whatever. And so it started out just as a passion, and then a hobby, and then something I dabble in, like when I felt like it. And then I think a few years ago, being at church, I was coordinating EHQ, so that really taught me a lot about like catering and portions. And so really life has taught me how to do business. Like God has used like, no, you can still stay at home, homeschool, do whatever. Your school is going to be life. Because I remember even thinking to myself, this was a couple of years ago, I was like, I can't do this because I never went to school for this. Because, America makes you think you have to go to school for everything. You need a piece of paper. And you sat in a classroom and you read a book, as opposed to just real life, just hands-on learning.
Right.
And so I just doubted myself. I was like, well, I didn't go to school. Nobody's going to take me seriously. Like, yeah, whatever. And I remember being at my sister's house, and we just had this prayer session. I don't know how it started, but she just started praying over me and prophesying over me. And one of the things and I had never told anybody that I had that doubt and that like school, I need to go to school.
Right.
And she just said, she's like, and she was just smacking my hands. And she was like, your gift is here. God is giving you. He said, you're sleeping.
Wow.
Told me, he said, you being lazy with your gift.
Oh.
Like I've given it to you. I've given you resources. I've given you something to financially bless your family, and you're not using it, because out of fear.
Right.
And so and one of the things she said to me, she said, you don't have to go to school. The Lord says you don't need to go to school. Ooh. And I was like, who told her that? She just said the Lord told her. But I was like, Lord Jesus? Right. And so I was like, what? So when she said that, that just wrecked me, because I was like, okay, I knew it was the Lord speaking.
Right.
That was such a big obstacle of like, no, for somebody, like, oh, are you accredited? Did you go to the Culinary Institute of America?
Right.
No, I went to the Culinary Institute of YouTube.
Right. There you go. Thank you.
Books and in the kitchen and, just, doing. And so for me, that was kind of the catalyst that kind of like, okay, I can do this now. And then, the two older ones are, they're like adults now.
Right.
I still have the two smaller ones, but I just felt like, okay, now it's my time to be able to like take this seriously and, and like, make money and I have to say that it makes it easier because it's not necessary. Like the money I make is not, we don't need, I'm scared to say this, Lord Jesus, you don't have to change this now. It's like, I don't need to do it.
It doesn't need to be
right
on the
now.
books. It doesn't need to be on the books.
So
Angel, help me find out where that money is.
Okay, we'll talk later.
No, you're talking to the wrong Angela. When I get my accountant, I'm going to send my accountant to you.
Yeah, Daniel's always asking me like, honey, how much money do you make?
I don't know.
I'm like, I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. He's
Don't
like,
believe that,
I
Daniel. Don't believe that at all. She know to the penny.
So Angela's know our money to a quarter penny to the invite.
He does. He's like, how much? I was like, I am not sure. Honey, how much money did you make last year? I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know. But for me, it's nice because I feel like I can still learn and grow and like, okay, that worked, that doesn't work or whatever without the pressure of, I need this because I got to pay the car. Or I need this because I got to, so that, but I feel like that's a blessing from God to, because it's like sometimes when you go through a season of up and down struggle or whatever, you start getting into a struggle mindset. You start thinking like,
Scarcity
that's
mindset.
just how it's going to always be.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
I'm always going to have to struggle for everything. And, I'm thinking maybe I already paid my dues a little bit. The Lord, I was like, Lord, we don't have to go back there again, do we? So that too is like just getting used to like, okay, sometimes something can just, it's still hard and it's still a lot of work and sometimes it's tiring or whatever, but I love it.
Don't cost you something.
But yeah, it costs you something, exactly. But it's just, not getting the set like, okay, not feeling guilty.
Right.
That it's a luxury right now.
Right.
That it's something that I can like turn on and turn off. And
right.
It's, okay, this month I'm kind of busy, so I can't really do that many gigs. So, but sort of, I think that's one of the things I struggle with. It's like, it's not a struggle. So, does that make sense?
No, it makes sense.
It makes sense because we always think that everything in life, we're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, and we're always waiting for something to be a struggle. And if it's not a struggle, then we don't deserve it. I think it becomes with worthiness, right? Like, how worthy are we? You are worthy. And it doesn't mean that struggle won't come, but I think sometimes we're so busy waiting to struggle or waiting for something to happen that we don't enjoy the blessing of what we have. Right. And I have to rewind for 1 second because I know we need to wind down. But one thing that I needed to say, and one thing that me and Sanchez have always talked about was the fact that couples need to talk about living on one income. One income is so important. I don't think that people understand the concept of one income. We didn't understand in the beginning of our marriage one income, right? But now we completely understand the concept of one income, because with one income, even if the other person is working or whatever, it gives you the freedom and the option to dream. And so that's what happened. Because you guys started so early in the game of doing one income, when the time came, you could literally dream, because Daniel was already dreaming, right? He was already dreaming. You guys had already talked about it. He was already dreaming. I would say Daniel was not only dreaming, but he was already manifesting, right? And so whatever the situation was, you both got together and said, hey, we can do this. No, you're not going back to corporate America, baby. We just going to eat this spam and this eggs and glamp as much as we can, because I know that God has called us to do this. So when your time came, don't even worry. You didn't have to, I won't even say worry, but there was no anxiety to that, because God gave you the freedom and the option to do this in such a way that it did not affect you financially, it did not affect your children. And the fact that you both knew, which I love when you said, Daniel said, which was so beautifully said, he said 6 years her craft was being built, but she said that she knew that God said this wasn't her time to release it yet. So this is your time to release it. So now you embrace it. So you guys have opened the door for communication and open the door and set yourself up for the success, because you're one of our most successful. We love you guys so much, but I think couples need to hear that communication came first, then knowing how you're going to live came second, and waiting for the right season. Just because God gave you the gift to do it doesn't mean it's the right now time, right? And so that's amazing.
So what's happening now in terms of just, you talk about dreaming, it's been 6-7 years that she's been doing it, what she's been building up, her dreams are now becoming our dreams.
Please say that again for the family in the back that didn't hear you.
Don't be over here. Daniel, don't start.
Her dreams are becoming our dreams. Like I'm having conversations with her about, honey, the next house we buy, we need to have something that has a space where you can cater and have companies or have families come in for dinners, for special dinners, things like that. So her dreams have now become our dreams, and we're planning around those dreams. And I think that
I almost cried. I'm so serious. That almost made me want to cry. That's so beautiful.
Happened to her in terms of because my dreams became her dreams, and she was really supportive. And now God is saying, those dreams that she had are now going to be your dreams. And so it's an interesting thing that's happening with
I don't
That's
even know what to
amazing.
do after that. I don't even know.
I
what
do
to
want to.
say.
That was amazing.
Wow.
Fam, that was understand. If you don't take anything
away from that,
from this particular episode,
So
family,
take that.
Listen to what the Prince just said.
wow.
But I do have a question though. Before we get to the point we wrap up, because I'm curious, because you guys have made this journey sound extremely beautiful, which I know it has been. Because but I know it hasn't been always easy, and I know it hasn't always been. I'm pretty sure there's been some tears. I'm pretty sure there's been some arguments. I'm pretty sure it has. But here's what I'm curious about, because the type of man you married a world traveler, literally a world traveler.
Yes.
Even before he started his own business, this is who he is.
Right.
So especially when he started his own business, now there's a lot of traveling. I mean, of course, in the last year, things have changed, but you know, traveling here and there, being gone a lot of the time. So you went from literally being a stay-at-home mom with a husband there to a stay-at-home mom with a husband being across the world. How did you adjust? What was that like for you?
It was actually not bad. Except the one time you got stuck in Cameroon for a month and a half. So you was gone. So I literally, in my mind, was like, okay, I had really gone into single mom mode because it was like an issue with his visa and whatever. It's a long story. But just like, the red tape he had to go through to be able to come back and all this other stuff. And so for me, that was really hard because it was 6 weeks. He was supposed to be gone for 2 weeks.
Right.
And so every week, it was every day, really, it was okay, they said today, I have to go here. And,
said next
so
week.
it just got to the point where I was like, okay, I don't know when he's coming home. And so I just kind of shut down and went into single mom mode. And so after that, we decided that I think it was like a 10-day or 2 week max.
It was a 10-day
so
max.
So he would travel,
including
and it wasn't
travel time.
Yeah, including travel time. Because for me, and this is just me, I would just just go into autopilot.
Okay.
And so if he was gone for more than 2 weeks, he had to come home and reintroduce himself to the family.
Literally. I'm your husband?
Okay. Right. And so I was like, yeah, because I was like, you can't, because I just would go in single mom mode, whatever. Okay, whatever. And then he came home and he would be like, okay, kids, blah, blah, blah. We'd be like, wait, who is you? We were like, we got our flow. You got to come in and be like,
routine,
clean the wash the dishes, go to bed at 9. No, we go to bed at 9:05. So it was
it was hard sometimes because she would on the phone, you come home. Then I come home, she's cold, what?
I was like,
I thought I should have stayed longer.
Right. What is that?
Because it was I had just, it was oh, who are you again? I don't know why I have such a short, maybe because I'm so used to having him around a lot. So I don't know why I had such a short attention span. But, so we kind of established that. And then, but a lot of his trips were not super long or whatever, and it wasn't, it was maybe 5-6 times a year, maybe 7 or 8 on a bit, but they were, he would just be mindful of how, so I'm if the meeting's on Friday, in Africa, you can leave on Tuesday, settle in on Wednesday, get on a plane Friday after the meeting is over.
And I'm going to need you to be here.
Right, and then I need you to be here on Saturday. Right.
We serve church on Sunday. You need to be here.
Yeah, I don't care about jet lag. I don't care about.
You worry about that later.
16-hour flight.
Right, don't matter.
You want me to be here. Not that I was going anywhere, but you know what I'm saying. But mentally and emotionally. So we just kind of put that in place. And when you said about the one thing is we never argued about him working.
Okay.
Or when we were glamping, whatever. That's one thing we never, because if anything, I would fuss at him to fight harder for what he deserves. So that was any of my things with him when we had these financial season, but lack and super lack.
Right.
Sometimes it was lack to the 10th level.
Right.
Where I was like, Jesus, are you still there?
Right.
But I still would never look at him sideways.
Okay.
I never would get angry with him. I would never blame him. I would get, if we did get into an argument about his work, it was because I was like, you got to you got to know your worth.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was more for me just pushing him to push hard and be more aggressive, with his clients and not take a lot of stuff. So that was literally, it was never me you need to go find it, ever.
Yeah, she pushed me a lot on that, and that's what really changed kind of the way I even approach who I am, because she kept saying you have more value, and I was listening, but it's kind of hard, you listen, but you don't really act when you have the opportunity to act.
Yeah.
And God had to force my hand. He was like, no, let me teach you something. I worked at Shutterfly, factory job. Was it 5 years ago when we were in Charlotte? Because I went from consulting with L3, the third largest defense contractor in the world, coming here, having the contract annulled because they sold the company, and to now trying to struggle to make something happen in Charlotte and working at Shutterfly for, I think it was like 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
Look at you doing a whole full 3 weeks.
Well,
You
I mean,
okay?
listen,
a whole 3 weeks.
I mean, imagine you're talking business owner,
Right.
corporate guy. Now you're a Shutterfly.
Yeah, I'm like, how did you last for 3 whole weeks?
But sitting in the lunchroom talking to people, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" Like, I was like, but sometimes in business you're gonna have to eat the mud, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to humble yourself and do, because sometimes you think you're beyond doing whatever.
Yeah.
I did it. And what God showed me was I needed you to go through this so I can teach you what your value is. So I made 300 and 400 and something, enough to buy Christmas gifts for the family.
Come on
that
now.
summer. And then I get a call.
Well, just say he was willing to do that.
Right.
The
I've
fact
done
that
that
you
before.
were like,
I get
Long
a
enough
call.
to get Christmas gifts,
Right.
and I ain't doing this no more.
Right. Then I get a call that Monday from my friend who was an ambassador in Washington. Hey, I need you to put together a concept paper for me. I know you can do it. It's like just 3 or 4 pages. And this is what I'm thinking about. Took me an hour. He paid me $500. And the Lord said, okay, how long did you work at Shutterfly?
For the $300? For that $300? Not 100.
In
300?
1 hour, they paid
Right.
you $500.
right.
Know your worth.
Know your worth.
Know your value.
Know your worth.
And this is what, and it just reminded me of what my wife kept saying to me. You're more valuable than that. You
Yeah.
can do more. So
It's a
love
blessing.
it.
I have one more question.
What you got, babe?
Kind of, it's light dark, not after dark. Amen.
Light dark.
Light dark.
Yes,
Come on,
finally.
somebody.
Light
How
dark.
you doing?
We all married here. We all
light
married.
dark.
Boom, chicka,
How
wow,
would
wow.
all of that homeschooling and entrepreneurship and transitioning and all the things that you guys do and him traveling, how do you keep the fire burning? I just needs to know.
Oh,
I mean, do y'all have time for that?
How do you? Because I said that to you because just recently you and him went roller skating. It was the cutest little thing. It was
Yes, I
so,
had so much fun.
cute. Y'all went roller skating together. So telling the family and that everything that y'all been through and still walking through, right? How do you still keep the fire burning between you two?
Right. Well, it's work. We fail miserably at it often, more often than we should. You know, we're always like, okay, we're going to, every Thursday, Friday, we're going to do a date night, and we don't always do it.
Right.
And then as far as intimacy, let's just go there real quick. Like that, again, that has been a fail and success. And,
It's a hit and miss.
Yes,
It's a hit and
Sometimes
miss.
it's great. Sometimes it's great. Daniel's like, hey, babe, remember me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, yeah. You need those things. And so,
I need those things.
yeah.
She don't need nothing, Daniel.
She's
She
like,
don't need nothing.
I'll give it to you when I'm ready.
When I'm ready.
You know, guys, it's more of a need more than a desire or want. It's like, no, we need it. So we, again, the 20-some years we've had, seasons of feast or famine
In that
same
area.
thing. And so,
Yeah,
but
I
like
didn't been
lately,
there.
we just,
Don't do that.
have-
It's not cool.
I'm just saying.
We're over there with them.
true.
We're
Right.
with
It's
them.
Those
Years,
After Dark episodes, man.
decades. I'm just saying. Continue though. I'm just saying.
But no, so we try to, I think COVID has been nice in the sense that, we've got to spend a lot of good time together. Now you're like searching, like what is open, what
Right.
can we do? But like going, it was so much fun. And, just like, I felt like a kid again and just being there with him. And he was like, and he, invited me and, I had already scheduled a women's meeting and I was like, okay, I gotta go. So that kind of, just trying to, figure out the consistent dating thing, which again, sometimes we fail at. And for me, as far as intimacy wise, like my husband for 20 still looks at me like I'm just the hottest thing since sliced bread.
Come on now.
Like,
Come on
and so
now.
for me, I'm like, from like pregnancy weight and me, how you feel like not so great, but he's always
Don't be shocked. Just respond. Don't be shocked.
Like
Walk into it. Come on, somebody.
Say it again. Say it again.
Don't be
accept
shy.
it and ride the wave. I'm just saying, just accept it and ride the wave. That's all. Don't fight against the current. Don't fight against the current. That's all I'm saying.
Don't fight it.
Don't fight it at all.
Join the party.
Join.
I'm just
Well, he's
saying.
recently come up with some things that don't allow me to say no anymore.
Oh yeah.
But we won't talk about that.
No, I will get you to after
Come on.
dark.
We
may have you back on the After Dark episode.
Yeah, back for after dark episode.
And you know, and that kicked off after our lunch.
Yes.
After the park, outside
Just a
of
little
in the
beast now.
backyard.
Remember our little dinner
share
we
with-
had?
Yes.
Come on.
So he is just
No, it is not.
Yeah.
It's been there.
See what you started?
See, I'm sorry. Okay,
what you started.
Okay, no, we're gonna end it. We're gonna end it. But y'all coming back for after dark.
Wait,
yeah.
wait.
Actually,
I didn't. Wait.
Yeah, we actually really may have you guys back.
Yeah,
for
we
After
need you
Dark
back for
episode.
after dark episode.
Would you be willing to do that for the
Would
family?
y'all do that for the family?
Are you
Okay.
kidding me? Let me get my after dark voice going right now.
Nice. You have an after dark voice, Angela?
No.
Is that it? Is I hope.
No.
That's personal.
Okay.
Angela, that's personal.
So
It wouldn't be appropriate right now.
Okay,
Wow.
I got you.
know.
Okay, sis, I got you.
one of the things I'm pretty sure you guys know because you're regular listeners, which we appreciate.
I'm sorry. The number one listener.
Yeah, you are the number one listener.
Thank you.
I'm the number 2.
Yeah. She's almost our manager. Y'all don't even know. Seriously.
Almost
Yeah.
stalkish. We
Yeah,
gotta
because
get to that right
the
now.
way she
No,
pushed her husband is how she do us. But we're not gonna talk about it today.
You know when your phone picks up the car, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Hers, like out Crenshaw Corner. Crenshaw. Constantly. You put a don't, or in the middle of a concert.
Right.
We love you, girl. What? We love you.
You guys know we always like to end on a final thought.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with you, Angela. Not Bay, but Angela. I'm going to start with you.
Final thought.
Final thought. What
I
is-
say like Angela.
Final thought, because I
What
can
is-
never think of one. But go
What
ahead.
is your final thought for the family?
Final thought is just to have the conversations, like you guys said, communicate, ask you think of every scenario, and even if you're already married, I would say still have that conversation. Things that you've held back from your spouse and that
Right.
you've been afraid to ask, or issue you've been afraid to deal with. I would say just, start talking. And literally, even listen to Dr. Laura.
Go back to
get
Dr.
some
Laura.
guidance.
I'ma go
I
back
don't
and
know
listen to
where
Dr.
she is. But that's what I would say. It's just have the conversations, talk through it, and just be honest about how you feel, whether it's good feeling or bad feeling, but just have the conversation.
That's cool.
Daniel, sir.
When you've had the conversations and you've drawn up the playbook and you're starting to execute the playbook, just know that there are going to be audibles, there are going to be changes, there are going to be, and how you respond to those ups and downs is going to be a determinant of how successful you're going to be. Are you going to stay with the playbook and have faith that God is going to take you through this, or are you going to change it completely?
Right.
There was a tendency that I had was like, I need to change it up, and God's saying, no. I've drawn the
keep going.
playbook. Stay on course and know that there are going to be ups and downs, and be ready for those, and have some type of a plan for that. How are you going to deal with those versus changing? Because we have a tendency to want to just change up things versus saying, I'm just going to ride through it. And so ride through it, trust God in the process, and just stay focused on it.
I love it. Faye, what's your final thought?
Listening to you guys, you have me personally, a statement more than a final thought. I probably have both, because that's how my mind works.
It's okay.
Thank you. You're so sweet.
I'll be learning from Daniel. I'll be learning.
You better learn from Daniel. But the first thing I would say is that what I love is today, even listening to you, I don't know how Sanchez feel, but you have challenged us as a couple. I felt like our marriage was challenged in having a communication with you, as far as pushing each other even harder, what you guys do, and just making sure that we we're huge. We communicated out sometime, but just keeping that we're challenging each other and pushing each other. So I thank you guys so much for that. It was so major. And then the final thought, which is always my final thought, you have got to communicate. You have got to be honest. You have got, and you have got to have those conversations not in your house. The best way to have these conversations is to have it outside of your house. Your house is so comfortable. And I think for us, we've been having conversations outside of our house.
Right.
And it's helped us so much, because it's almost like a business meeting now. now. We actually schedule business meetings for Crenshaw Corner and for our marriage now, because in the house is so cozy and it's so comfortable. And so you're really not really saying what you really want to say. But if you treat it like a business meeting, and like the Crenshaw Corner is a business, the Crenshaws are a business, and we will be in ruins if we don't have a foundation, like Daniel said, or a plan, like you said, and focus on that plan and move forward. So I just want to thank you guys for just continuing to push us in the way that we need to go in marriage. So that was my final thought and a statement. You saw me, baby.
I saw you, girl. I love you.
Yes.
My final thought is going to be kind of a piggyback off of what Daniel said, not in his final thought, but a little early in the conversation. One thing that you said that I hope the family caught was know your worth. Mm-hmm. And my final thought for the family is know your worth. Mm-hmm. Know your worth individually. Mm-hmm. If you're a married couple, understand the worth of your marriage.
Yes.
Because I think that's where a lot of couples go wrong, that they devalue and don't truly understand the worth of their marriage, why they've been brought together, what they're to accomplish together, what one means to the other.
Right.
And just know your worth, know your value, know the value of your marriage, know the value of your spouse. Understand that as a husband, your job is to protect your wife at all costs. That's what whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
That is your primary goal,
Yes.
is to protect your wife at all costs. Even if it means protecting her from yourself.
Come on now.
You have to protect her at all costs.
Another topic, eh? How to protect yourself from your spouse.
And vice versa with the wife.
Right.
Your job is to cover your husband and protect him at all costs, even if it means protecting him from yourself.
Exactly.
So know your value, know your worth.
Yes.
And that's my final thought.
Oh,
I'm
my
gonna use
goodness.
that, Sanchez. We get into an argument or something like that. I'm like, I'm protecting you from me.
I'm trying to protect you from me. Okay. Oh my, that was amazing. Oh my goodness.
Guys, just thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Seriously.
No, seriously, this meant a lot to us.
It did.
You guys mean a lot to us.
Yes,
Thank
you
you
do.
so much for being a part.
Love you guys.
Family, hopefully, I'm not going to say hopefully. I know you can take something.
I know you can take something.
There's hopefully get your pen, get your pad, go back and listen to this episode again, because I know you missed some of the nuggets that were dropped because it was bomb after bomb after nugget after nugget after nugget.
And don't get that regular aluminum foil, that little Ford. You know, I need you to get the big.
Reynolds.
Get that Reynolds.
Get that Reynolds.
Get that Reynolds.
Get that Reynolds wrap. But I want you to get the big size.
Yeah,
because
that
you gonna need,
industrial.
there's some stuff to wrap up in this bad boy today.
Don't do
Stay
like
away
my
from the
wife.
Dollar Tree aluminum.
I was about to say that.
Go to
Don't do like my
restaurant.
wife. Don't go to the Dollar
Oh,
Tree.
y'all didn't have to do that.
Get that Dollar Tree
That was
red
hurtful.
box aluminum foil.
That was hurtful, y'all.
Don't do that.
Angela, that was hurtful.
Don't
That
do
was
that.
hurtful. That was hurtful.
So family.
From now, I'm gonna go ahead and get the Reynolds blue and silver.
Could you
Okay,
please?
people.
At Restaurant
Okay.
Depot.
Family, as
sorry.
always, we thank you guys so much. We thank you for listening. We thank you for allowing us into your home. We thank you for just being a part. However you're listening, whether it's on iTunes, whether it's on Podbean, whether it's on Spotify, whether it's Google Play, whether it's Amazon Music, whether it's iHeartRadio, on our own personal website at www.theCrenshawCorner.com. We thank you guys so much. And as always, we consider ourselves an interactive podcast.
Come on, babe.
Which means we're on the socials.
Tell 'em, baby.
We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, all under Crenshaw Corner. And of course, please email us at any time at thecrenshawcorner@gmail.com. Once again,
the
thecrenshawcorner@gmail.com. And as always, family, welcome to our journey.
We love you guys. Bye.